Welcome to The Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. In this episode, Michael Medline, President and CEO of Empire Company Limited, is back on the podcast, joined by Mohit Grover, Senior Vice President, Innovation, Sustainability and Strategy, to talk about what Empire is doing at all levels around real progress in environmental, social, and governance (ESG) issues. Michael and Mohit share their new 3-year climate action plan roadmap. We talk about actual results, fundamental strategies and action plans, the partnerships and complexities involved, and the simple truths that show real progress in environmental, social, and governance issues.
What I've noticed in my career looking at it is every time you do something for ESG, it actually helps your results. And I think that there's always doubt when there's new things, but when we look at a lot of the sustainability initiatives, and credit to Mohit and his team and everyone else working in this company on climate and sustainability, we're really excited about how it not only is the right thing to do, but that it can change the way we do business and make us more efficient.
Michael and Mohit, welcome. Thank you for inviting me here to the offices to chit and chat today. How are you both doing, Michael?
Doing great. It's a beautiful day, and looking forward to our chat.
Mohit, it's been years since we've last saw each other, and how are you?
I'm doing great, Michael.
Fantastic. Now, for the employees and for my audience, Michael, they would know you well or know of you well. You were a recent guest on the Voice of Retail podcast. Mohit, tell me about yourself, your role here, and catch us up for a few minutes.
Sure. So I'm a born and raised Torontonian. I'm a dad with 2 kids, a dog. I'm a foodie. I'm a huge Raptors fan, but I do love grocery. And so, I joined Empire 3 years ago from Google. And here I lead strategy, innovation, and sustainability.
Fantastic. Well, unpack that a little bit for me. What does strategy mean at an enterprise like yours? What does that encompass? We're going to be talking a lot about sustainability and ESG today, but unpack that just for a few seconds.
Absolutely. So at our company, we think about strategy as top of house. What are our initiatives that we're going to drive the business forward with? Mm-hmm. And strategy and sustainability kind of merge together.
Right.
Sustainability is an important part of our strategy and comes to life across all elements of our go-to-market approach.
Fantastic. Michael, when you and I last spoke, we were talking about the book Unprecedented. You had contributed some stuff in it, and we were talking about the COVID era. And even within that, we were talking about sustainability. That kind of came up and percolated naturally. So it's clearly important to you. It's clearly important to Empire. And let's dive deeper into ESG. Let's first start with 3 letters of the alphabet. But what does it mean, ESG? Unpack it a bit for us.
Well, when I think about ESG, and when I was younger and I was coming up through business, it was way more just what you do in terms of your quarterly or annual results, and not what you were doing for society or for your team members. And there was less of an emphasis on governance even. And in a good way, and I think a lot of the change came from companies itself, or in some cases from some regulation. I think we've evolved further. And so when I think about ESG, I think of it as the right thing to do, first of all. It's the right thing. And I also think about it as that it's important to our stakeholders. We get questions all the time from our investors, from our teammates, from prospective teammates, and from our communities. What are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing on behalf of your community, your people, and really increasingly about the climate? And so, we're a purpose-driven company, and we like to do the right thing. But what I've noticed in my career looking at it is every time you do something for ESG, it actually helps your results. And I think that there's always doubt when there's new things, but when we look at a lot of the sustainability initiatives, and credit to Mohit and his team and everyone else working in this company on climate and sustainability, we're really excited about how it not only is the right thing to do, but that it can change the way we do business and make us more efficient. And I think this is a journey, right? This is a long-term journey.
What inning do you think we're in?
Well, everyone knows if you ask me a sports analogy, I'll answer. I think we're in the first inning. I'm proud that we did so much on all aspects of ESG during the pandemic and never let down on that. That was one of our tenets during the pandemic. But I think we're early days, and I think we're only exploring it at this point. So I'm very excited.
Well, let's pull on that thread a little bit. What are you most proud of, or what do you, when you think about accomplishments so far, what rings out for you in terms of your ESG accomplishments so far?
Yeah, I think that, there's so much we could talk about. We could talk about our community involvement, and, if you want to delve into that later, that's great. I think right now what I'm proudest of is the commitment we've made now in climate. That I think we're among the boldest of retailers in terms of our commitment. And this is one aspect of the business that we don't want to beat everyone else at. We want everyone to be good at. Because, if we all do our part, if our supplier partners do their part, if our competitors do their part, we'll get to the overall goals of Paris and beyond. But I'm really happy that we pushed ourselves, and I think working with our board of directors really helped, and Mohit pushing us. We came to a place where we've been bolder than even some companies have been. And I think this company responds when we're more bold. We do better. And also when we put process and discipline and systems in place. So we didn't announce this a year ago when we started thinking about it. We wanted to know we had a clear plan to be able to execute. Maybe not all the way to 2040.
Sure.
But we have a good runway now of initiatives that we can take advantage of.
So kind of in mind a point of arrival, so to speak. So Mohit, let's talk about the Climate Action Plan. Why is it important in your mind as you think about this from your chair and your teams to be not incremental about this, but to set that kind of, as Michael was saying, those kind of ambitious goals that set we can't get there tomorrow, but here's where we're going, and let's see if everyone can come along with us.
Absolutely. So climate change is a crisis globally. It affects all of us. It's going to affect the next generation of Canadians. And so we've been focused on this for a while. I think what's changed here is that we started to think about standards and commitments that we can set to drive us towards these outcomes. And that means holding ourselves accountable, holding our partners accountable, and then measuring ourselves against those commitments. If you look at the work we've done to date, we've done a number of energy efficiency projects in our stores, whether that's LED lighting retrofits, other things like refrigerant changeovers, equipment upgrades, et cetera. And we've been at this for a while. When we look back to 2019 to 2021, we've already made a reduction of about 14% in our business with those initiatives. And so we're on that track to get there. But by setting this ambitious target on Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, with a 2030 horizon to reduce that by over 50%, we're going to put our monies where our mouth is and really drive towards that goal.
Well, you're touching on the kind of this roadmap. In other words, how are you going to get there, right? I mean, the challenge with climate change is it's global, as you were saying, right? So it feels sometimes too big to get your arms around. But in some ways, an enterprise the size of Empire can make very small changes to a number of things and have pretty tremendous impact, right? So what's the roadmap? What does that roadmap look like? Unpack that a little bit for us.
Absolutely. So we've got a number of initiatives that we want to do in our own operations. Things I talked about, solar, refrigerant changeovers, other energy consumption ways to move to more sustainable methods. But where we can really have impact is in the partnerships we might do. And so partnering with our vendors, because Scope 3 emissions is a large percentage of our emissions base. Over 97% of our emissions come from the supply chain. And so there we're going to engage our vendors to drive change. And we think we have a meaningful plan to educate our vendors, drive action, and help them get there.
Michael, you've made partnership, collaboration just a part of what you do. You've called it the kinder capitalism, so to speak. So let's talk about that. Let's put this in context for us. And the achieving sustainability is going to happen with partners. So how do you view that? What lens do you view that collaboration through?
Well, even though we have 130,000 teammates at Empire Company at Sobeys, we can't do anything without partners. And our closest partners are obviously our supplier partners, what people call vendors. Yeah. We are not going to be successful on our climate objectives or getting rid of plastic and all the good things that we're going to do without working closely with supplier partners. What's nice is that we have a culture, as you point out, which is collaborative. It's tough but fair. Yep. We challenge each other, but at the same time, we work really well with supplier partners. And that was inherent in the DNA and the culture of Sobeys always. It's been brought out. And so we're going to need those supplier partners, and we've asked them, and we just, Pierre Saint-Laurent, our COO, and I, we just did a town hall with our supplier partners, and we need their help, especially on sustainability initiatives. But, sometimes we've been talking today, and sometimes we talk only about sustainability and ESG as it has to do with the environment, which is so important. But when I talk about partners, I can't help but acknowledge, and I can't name them all here today.
Sure.
But what we've done in terms of partnering with Black North Initiative on DE&I and what huge change in a couple of years that's brought about. When I think about our partnership with Kids Help Phone and the Rise Up program for Black youth, the Finding Hope for Indigenous youth, and what that Kids Help Phone means to so many kids and youth in this country. I think of our partner's great long-term partnership, which predates me, with Special Olympics. And when I think of during COVID, we came out with Family of Support to support the 13 children's hospitals across the country. And so you can see that we want to be part of the community, and we need these partners to be able to get our goals accomplished, but also for the good of the community and for the good of the country, honestly.
I mean, it's kind of a multi-layered approach, right? You've got all these interwoven networks of how you engage in the community, because you're in so many communities from coast to coast, and then you've got such a vast array of vendors, from vendors that your employees and the consumers would know because they're buying the products off the shelf, to those behind the scenes, right? So Mohit, how does all this kind of tie in to achieving the goals? I mean, it adds a layer of complexity, right? You just right back to the top. We talked about, listen, you can't do this on your own, but of course that adds some layers of complexity. How do you and the team manage through that?
Absolutely. Look, partnerships are going to be a huge part of this journey. And if you look back at what we've done over the last couple of years, we've had some great partnerships in the innovation and sustainability space. So InFarm is a great example. For those who don't know InFarm is a partner that puts in vertical farms in our stores. And so if you visit a Sobeys store
I had some of that. I was at one of your locations, and I brought it home, and I took pictures of it, showed it to my family, and then we had the product. The product was amazing. It was like, just came right, literally, I guess it did, just came right off the farm practically. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And the customers love it. But I think the other important part is we're having impact. Less water to grow, less energy to grow those products, not having to transport them from far away to the stores.
Right.
And so you think about all of that, there's a huge sustainability impact, a huge impact to our environment and climate change. And it's an innovative solution that we can deliver to our customers.
And it gets, I think it gets both the trade and consumers thinking. Because it when you first see it, it stands out in the store. And you're like, what is that? And you go over and you start to understand it. It really starts to elevate the thinking. But I'm sure with the associates as well, when it was first kind of being installed in the stores, how's this going to work and will it be popular, right?
Absolutely. And we've got partnerships that have helped us in many areas. So if we think about food waste, we have a commitment that we put in place in 2016 to reduce food waste by 50%. We're 24% of the way there. And we have some partners that have helped us on that journey. Second Harvest being one, Food Hero being another one. And, those are a few elements that have helped us on that goal. And if we think about even our impact in forests, we've planted about a third of the 44,000 trees we had committed to with the partner One Tree Planted.
Wow. So, sorry, say that number again. How many trees?
About 14,000. So it's about a third of the way there on our commitment. And so we're trying to do our part, and partners are a big part of that solution.
Right. And do you have an ongoing, Michael, you mentioned you got the vendors all together, or what we'd call vendors. Do you get the partners together in a summit? How do you, just help me understand how you control all those moving parts together?
For our vendor community, we're going to do in vendor engagement. So vendor by vendor at the category desk, we spend with our supplier partners, understanding what their goals and objectives are and educating them on the things that we're doing and seeing ways where we can overlap. On specific initiatives around food waste or plastics reduction, we look for specific partners that can aid us on our journey and where our missions are aligned.
You mentioned the plastics, and I think that's an area where, we really are proud of where we're going. And I'm not always complimentary of government, but I got to say the ban on single-use plastics we're very supportive of. And I think it was well thought out, and I've seen some criticism of it, but I think it's time we get away from the single-use plastic. And we were the first grocer of size in North America, and certainly the first in Canada, to get rid of plastic bags, which everyone thought we couldn't do.
Right.
And we had nothing but positive feedback from our customers.
And that's a narrative you often hear in the sustainability world. There's always a barrier to change. And there's always, well, give us a few years, or we're not quite ready yet, or we don't have a solution for this, that, or the other thing. But sometimes, as you say, making those bold moves, whether it's the political realm or yourselves at Empire, that drives that change, right?
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, you got to give some notice so that people are ready. And I especially think of small retailers or smaller supplier partners who don't have all the resources we do.
Yeah.
So I keep those in mind. But you got to go, and you got to take action, and you can put it off forever and talk.
Yep.
At some point, you just got to make a decision and go. And some of that the government has to do, and some companies like ours just have to do.
Right. That intersecting partnership of business and government can work together, right? 1 + 1 = 3. Yeah. And it's a big, gnarly thing to get your arms around. Let's talk about the associates in all of this. So associates from coast to coast. Mohit, how do you think about the associates and their role? Obviously a very important partner if we're talking about the context of partnership.
Absolutely. So our associates are tremendously engaged in this journey. Us leading and being bold in sustainability is exactly what a company that they would want to work for.
What they're looking for, to be an employer of choice, right?
Absolutely. And so our action, like Michael said, removing plastic bags, our employees were 100% behind that. So we've removed 800 million plastic bags from circulation, single use, right?
800 million, right?
A year.
Unbelievable. And again, back to that point, enterprise the size of yours, one change can have so much dramatic impact that, when you accumulate it up, that's fantastic. So that was a big deal. That's really
absolutely. And there's other elements like food waste. Our employees understand now, what's happening to the food that's being discarded or near expiry, and ways that we can correct that and have less shrink, less waste, and then those products that do go to waste, are there ways to redistribute them? And so we've had meaningful impact by providing food to food insecure Canadians across the country, especially during the pandemic, where many people were in need.
Right.
And so our employees are 100% aligned against these initiatives and are actually champions for them.
I like what you said about taking the conversation beyond just shrink and economics in the store, at the store level, very important, into what's actually happening that we can contribute to the communities. Very interesting. Michael, let's turn our minds to the not-so-distant future. Let's say the rest of this year and into the next. What are you looking forward to? What are you looking ahead?
I think where we're heading, and I commend Mohit and the rest of the executive team for the leadership on this, is that I think sometimes we think of the business and D&I and sustainability as different things. And what I'm really proud of is that we're working on a 3-year strategy that integrates all of this together, that we're not going to be as successful as we want to be if we're not as diverse as we should be.
Right.
That we have to integrate sustainability into everything we do. When we build a new store, when we renovate a store, in our e-commerce efforts, in the building we're sitting in right now. Everything we do should be one holistic thing. And we weren't always treating it that way because it was new and we're trying to figure out our plans. So I think what we're going to see is that this just becomes part of the way we do business. And that's just the way we think. And we've seen that on diversity. It's become that. And now we're seeing it start on sustainability as well, where we don't, it's when you think of an issue, you automatically are thinking of those, the ramifications. And I think that's where we're going to, which is a whole step above what we're doing today.
Well, it actually adds, as you describe it, a new thread in the DNA of the company, right? So even integrating it into the strategy function is a big signaling mechanism in and of itself, right? That's part of the core strategy. All right, let's talk about measurement, Mohit. Let's talk about how you measure these goals and how you're thinking about reporting and disclosure, and how does that all fit into doing good and then telling folks and reporting that you're doing good.
Let's talk a little bit more about the targets we've set, right? We're setting targets against Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 emissions. For Scope 1 and Scope 2, we're looking to reduce our emissions by 55% by 2030. And that's off a 2019 baseline. As I mentioned, we're 14% of the way there. And we've got a meaningful effort and a meaningful plan to kind of move our way to that 2030 goal. On Scope 3 emissions, by 2030, we need to reduce our fuel sold by 28%. We have a fuel business.
Right.
And the other Scope 3 emissions target that we've set is to get 62% of our suppliers by revenue also commit to science-based targets as we have. And so, as I mentioned before, we're going to do that through partnership, engagement, education. And by doing that, we think we can have meaningful change in impact in the Canadian ecosystem on climate.
And is it the case that you're 14% of the way there? Is it giant leaps in those kind of percentages, or as closer you get to 50%, it starts to get percentage at a time, half percentage at a time, as you start to go through the big initiatives?
I think like many things, there's some low-hanging fruit, things that we can do, and we've kind of tackled those first. And as we move along on our journey, we'll start to look at renewable sources of energy and thinking about how we integrate those into our stores. We have some solar panels on some of our rooftops. Will we do more of those? Those are things that we're starting to work through now. Interesting.
All right, Michael, we're sitting here in the month of July. How are you feeling? We've got the holidays, the back half of the year ahead of us. How are you feeling about the back half of the year and the ESG initiatives from now till the end of the year? What's next?
It's easy to make an announcement, although it wasn't that easy. We put a lot of work into it. But executing on a plan, which we're really good at now. We've gotten really good at it over the last 5 years. That's the key. To hold ourselves accountable for these goals. Because as one of my kids would say, you don't want to be greenwashing. Right. You want to be able to do the right thing and execute. So putting out a press release saying that you're going to live up to certain science-based targets is one thing. And we take that seriously. We put our names on that. Now we've got to execute. And I think if I can encourage people to read our Sustainable Business Report, I think that a lot of the details, a lot of which Mohit outlined here, are spelled out in there, not just on sustainability, but what we're doing on the rest of ESG. And I think that's really an exciting report. And the report's last year was a step up. This is 2 steps up from that. And then I think we have to know, like when we talk about where we're going, that the world, including Empire, is still learning. Yeah. And so I'm even more excited that there are going to be breakthroughs. So, there's low-hanging fruit, like Mohit says, but there are going to be technological breakthroughs that allow us maybe to even accelerate on our goals and let all our competitors and everyone else accelerate as well, and our partners. And so I'm really excited about that. But let's start by executing on what we promised.
Well, and you often see that where bold steps initiate new technologies, right? Because you start to create markets for certain things that didn't exist before. When enterprises like Empire start to take those initiatives, then there's a market for the innovators. Mohit, let's talk about the people who are going to help you get it done, the skills and what's behind your team that gets this ambitious goal and tracks it down and helps you achieve it.
Look, we've got an amazing sustainability team, but management team, a board that has all come behind this plan. But it isn't just about a sustainability team or our management team. I think where this really comes to life is our partners, but also our teammates. They're super important in delivering against this ambition. And, we think that this is an aggressive and bold, but achievable goal. And we're really excited about the journey we're on. And we're looking forward to executing against these plans.
Well, as you said, Michael, it's one thing to put out a release, but it is important, right? You're putting your names on it. It's both business reputation and your own personal reputation. So this has been a fantastic discussion. It's so interesting listening to what you're up to, and I'm so proud to be part of the discussion. And it's been really great. I'll put a link in the show notes to your report so everybody can read at more detail. Now, Michael, I have one question for you, which you may or may not want to answer.
Shoot.
Let's talk about the big changes with Scene.
Great.
If you can spend a minute on that. I actually yesterday, interviewed Ellis Jacob from Cineplex, just by coincidence. So I asked him about, hey, this is amazing. Like Scene went from, a movie theater loyalty program to now, from there to Scotiabank to the tie-up with Empire. How are you feeling about that? Talk about that a little bit.
I was talking to Ellis today, and he's flying high because of Scene Plus and because of Top Gun.
Yeah, he loves that movie. He said he saw it twice.
Yeah, and so he's doing well. And I don't think I've been as excited about a business venture and a partnership ever as I've been about Scene Plus and working with Scotiabank and with Cineplex to put together the best loyalty program in the country. I think our customers, as we roll this out, are going to be blown away by what a great program this is, how it's more personalized to their needs, the choices they're going to have, that they're going to be able to redeem for groceries incredibly easy. And so change, I always say change is hard. I don't like change. I like, in my favorite menu at my restaurant, if they change it and I can't get the pasta I want, I don't like it right away. But then I realized there are better ways to do things. So what we're doing right now is we're working with First Atlantic Canada, where we're rolling it out in August. Mm-hmm. And we're going to, and especially in the store, we're taking every measure we can to make this easy for our customers, this change, and to make it exciting. And I guarantee the customers are going to like this.
Fantastic.
So thanks for asking.
Yeah.
It's been, other than perhaps sustainability, it's the most planned out initiative I've ever been part of.
Well, and you got a great team behind you. You may not know, I work with Sean Bloom at Hudson's Bay, and we actually did the conversion from the Club Z program to HBC Rewards together. So you've got a great experienced team who's done what you're describing, right?
Yeah, Sandra Sanderson and Sean Bloom and the rest of their team, I don't know where they find time to sleep, because this is a really big project with a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But if you want to thrill the customers, there's a lot to do.
Well, gentlemen, thanks again for spending this time together. I wish you both continued success, and hope forward to we'll catch up again and chat about how it's progressing soon enough. So thank you again.
Thank you. Most enjoyable.
Question: what is your brand doing to mitigate its environmental impact? As you know, today's consumers aren't just happy to see retailers being sustainable. They're demanding it. They feel better about buying brands whose values align with theirs. They're making their opinions known, and they're voting with their wallets. Introducing Print Relief from DCM, an ingenious, planet-loving solution that will grab the attention of your shoppers and genuinely make your business more environmentally sustainable. Print Relief is the world's first platform that automatically converts your paper footprint into newly planted trees. It's an international reforestation program and patented software system all in one. And here's the part your CFO will love: DCM pays for it on your behalf when you print through them. Print Relief's tracking system integrates flawlessly with DCM's enterprise software. Every time DCM prints for your brand, Print Relief measures the total paper consumption, reverse calculates the number of trees used to produce that paper, and plants the equivalent number of trees at reforestation projects in Canada and around the world. How will your customers know? You'll get a unique QR code that links to a dashboard showing exactly how many trees you planted, and you can put that QR code anywhere: print, digital, or social. One quick scan, and people will see how serious your brand is about sustainability and offsetting climate change. Plus, you can embed your dashboard on your website and easily share Print Relief impact certificates on your social platforms. All of that at no extra cost to you when your commercial print needs are met by DCM. Learn more at datacm.com. That's DATACM.com. Thanks for tuning into this special episode of The Voice of Retail. If you haven't already, be sure and click and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so new episodes will land automatically twice a week. And check out my other retail industry media properties: The Remarkable Retail Podcast, Conversations with Commerce Next Podcast, and The Food Professor Podcast with Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. Last but not least, if you're into barbecue, check out my all-new YouTube barbecue show, Last Request Barbecue, with new episodes each and every week. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of M.E. LeBlanc Company and Maven Media. And if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at meleblanc.co. Have a safe week, everyone.